Hi everyone, Sibbeh here, spin and go coach for OP Poker. Today I'm going to be making a live play on the $100 spins so you can see how I think and approach poker. If you like what you see in the video and how I explain things, I do offer coaching and details on that can be found in the description section. Or if you have any general questions or anything else at all to ask, feel free to message me on Discord. Let's jump into the action. Okay, we'll register one table of 100s and explain my thought process as we go along. See who we get on the table. Load spin 50 up just in case we get a 5x. That's my general plan for spin 50, just wait until I'm about to win a 5x and then start. So we get two players we've played against before. This guy, definite reg. This guy also, I think, if I remember correctly. At 25 bigs we can open the offsuit 9x, and we want to, when we get shallower, open them less. Also, if you have any information that either one of the blinds are free betting a lot, then you can just straight up fold the offsuit 9x's. When we get two calls, in general, playing pretty face up, as it's much harder to bluff into two players than one, so just check in. And not really bluffing. We won't win too often, but it's hard to fold much better. When we double check, we can have a few pocket pairs and lots of high ace highs. But still, just giving up those two people, especially on the small blind flats, it's usually a strongish range, be lots of ace highs, yeah. And this player flats pocket twos, so actually this is definitely fishy. Easy reshove with any pair there. You can be tighter with not rejamming any ace-x versus two regs, but if there's a fish you can definitely jam any ace-x too. Here we can definitely bet a king-6 for value. Even getting a fold from a random hand is a good result. Say I had a hand like Jack-9 there, still two overcards. So he checked on a queen 3-3 board, which is not something I'd expect a reg to do. It's a board on the button you can definitely just range bet. We'll just fold the ace-2. Not really opening ace-2 and ace-3 off on the button, opening ace-4 off and higher. Okay, pick up a nice hand, pocket 8s. Just jamming. A little bit shallower, you can sometimes flat the higher pockets, but plays much easier to jam a hand like 8s. Good thing, I'd probably at that stack depth think about flatting jacks plus definitely and maybe 10s. And we'll just jam the king-queen at this stack depth. Already 3 big blinds on the pot. Queen-jack we're going to min-raise fold. Okay, nice, get it through. Could think about open jamming the queen jack if the big blind was shallower, but 16's too much for me want to be jamming. Versa button open at this stack depth, we have to be really careful because this is often always like pocket pairs and high suited ace-x and only occasionally a few off-suited hands, so wouldn't be defending much wider than this, to be honest. And when we think we're versus that range, we don't really achieve much by probing here, so just check in and just check folding. Playing pretty face up against a button min raise at this stack depth, as we know it's very strong. Okay, we'll be getting ace-9 in here no matter what. Running to ace-8, that's good for us. Okay, we'll start with a limp with our 10-5. See what our Russian friend does. Versus him in ISO, we can call really wide. The problem is our hand just doesn't flop well. Easy call of ace queen. If he limped, I'd have gone for a 4.5x ISO. But we're running to ace-9 again. Nice situation for us there. He played the hand perfectly fine. Spin another one. I think it's always good to acknowledge when you get a lucky situation, because it's easy to only concentrate sometimes on when you get an unlucky situation, but need to also acknowledge when we get lucky situations. We spin a 5x, so that's nice. Hopefully we can win this and start spin 50. Ace-3, we can either 3x or limp. I'm just going to limp this time. And just check in. And if we face a bet, I would just check forward. And now we're just trying to get to the showdown with our ace high. Beat hands like king, queen high. And yeah, nothing we can do versus pot size bet, just not a hand that needs to continue on this board, so that's fine. I don't actually recognise either of these two players, so potentially we're against two unknowns. This guy's from Bulgaria, which usually is a decent sign that there's a good chance they're a regular. This guy's from Romania. We will see. Queen 7's close. It's a hand you can actually free bet if you have information on how wide they're going. I have no information on this player at all, so I'm just going to take the conservative line on forward. Five 4 suited is again a hand that it really doesn't matter if you open or fold. BB is very close. The low suited hands and the offsuit 9x are very dependent on how often the blinds are folding / free betting. See what goes on here. Paired river. And Not a paired river, sorry, but we see a big pot size bet. Repping some kind of river 2 pair. Easy raise over ace jack suited, and if we face 3-bet all in, we'll be snap calling. Board where you can easily range bet because people overfold, and the forward equity doesn't really change much when you increase a little bit, so with value that's what I'm going to do, readerless. Because people are still calling any pair or gut shot anyway. Be getting the pocket 8s in here. I will ISO to 3 big blinds. Another option is an even bigger ISO, but we're in position, so 3 will work fine. Pretty decent flop. We'll go for the 2 big. We can go for 1.5 or 2 big blinds. I don't mind going for 2 with specifically pocket 8s with no club. It's not too bad if we straight up fold hand like Jack 10, Queen 10 or something straight away. And now our hand is more of a bluff catcher versus any flush draw or floats, backdoor diamonds, so we'll check and give them a chance to bluff the river. Not too scared of the 3. Occasionally we'll have one, but not too often. Of course he can have king X's, but there's still the missed flush draws and missed door diamonds, so we don't really have much option but to call here. And he does have a missed flush draw, so that worked out very nicely. 6-7 suited, we can limp or min raise. We'll go for a min raise this time. Just betting 1 big blind. Would do this with basically all my range here. Ace X board, plenty of forward equity. Think of hands like Jack 6 off, for example. King 5 off, might just fold, all these kind of hands. Check this one back. Can occasionally think to ISO bluff it, for sure. Nothing to do on this flop, he gets to bet very, very wide there. Limping with our 6-3, and versus him in ISO I will call. We're a little bit deeper, our hand can actually flop some draws as well as just pairs. And just folding. This min ISO at this stack depth does suggest that he's more of a fun player though, is what I would say. Versus recreationals, you can basically probe any 2. We will take it this time with no information on what he's checking. Just 1 and give up there, because our goal is not to fold a hand like king high, it's just to fold any air that he's not recognising he can see bet wide, so when called just completely giving up. It's already a very wide probe to begin with. We'll limp the 8-5. He's ISO does 2 out of 2 so far, we'll keep that in mind. Check back the Jack 8 suited. If he min bet, we can think about continuing, but versus pot, definitely just folding. And pot's really not a size that should be used on this board, so definitely keep that in mind. We've seen him ISO 2 out of 2, so I don't mind limp jamming the ace-9. And king jack suited, completely fine. Let's click start on spin 50, since we win that. Very nice. Then let's register another. So we have a reg from Mongolia and an unknown from Romania again. Pocket 7s, just jamming. Jam any pair versus a reg, small blind versus button. I would versus fish too. It's always strange when somebody's thinking about it. Usually from regs it's just a sign that they're playing on more tables, because they should basically know what their ranges to call are. Here I'm just betting 1BB, I'd do this with my full range on this paired structure. Good thing to remember when using 1BB as a button is if you get 18% forward equity, you're already breaking even. Here we just call, see what the turn brings. Now we're very confident with our 4. We'd be very unlucky to face a cooler. I will just call there and give him a chance to fire rivers. Don't think a 5's barely ever in his range, it'd have to be a random 5x flush draw. So now do we raise? He shouldn't have pocket pairs. He could have a 9, but that's very unfortunate. He can have ace highs. We'll go for 7, try and get called by ace high or king high. He did just have a bluff. If we got rejammed on there, I would just fold, because I don't expect to ever be bluffed, and the button range has all the pocket pairs, which makes all the high full houses, so I don't think he will ever jam a 4. So when we get jammed on after raising there, it's basically always a 9. Here we'll limp in. This guy actually seems more on not the full reg side, more of very recreational player that has an okay understanding, so not a complete gambler, but somebody who's not a reg. I don't have massive sample, but I have some. That his pre-flop ranges all seem reasonable. He's just not playing in the more standard way as most people do, I'd say. Okay, we'll rejam the pocket 6s. Run into ace queen, that's fine. And we hold, that's great. Jam the king 4 suited. We'll take that one down, we'll play one more. I think when you're playing yourself, it's never a bad idea to comment aloud when you're playing. It always helps to make you think more about ranges as opposed to your specific hand, and make sure you're fully concentrating. So definitely something I'd suggest for anybody that's looking to improve whilst playing and consciously be focused. It might feel a bit weird at first, but that's fine. Okay, so this guy from Russia is one of my most common regs. Quite a decent player, and don't know who this Dust Show 40 is. So these spins have actually been quite good in terms of the reg ratio. Button limp usually suggests like 99% of the time it's not a professional. In general, you just want to be min raising from the button. There are very niche spots where limping becomes a credible option when there's the stacks can jam on you. Some more shallower stacks, but deeper stacks are never a thing in theory. Okay, just folding king 8 off. King 9 would be the bottom king I open. And definitely isolating the ace jack suited, using 3 big blinds. I am playing in big blinds and not chips, I just prefer that. It makes it a lot more easier when it gets to the stack sizes you want to be jamming, in my opinion. Here we can limp or 3x. Going to 3x this time. King 10-2. It's fine board to bet a quarter pot and give up. We'll get the 20% forward equity we need. We have all the strong kings. Again, I'll isolate for value my queen 10 suited versus an unknown player. King high flop, so now just bet him really small to just fold out any hand, basically. If I got called, I would check almost every turn, because then we're never really folding a hand that's better than ours on basically any turn when we have queen high there. Can limp in with our king 3. We flop 2 pairs, so now we have to consider do we want to check and let him bet. Usually when someone limps a button, it suggests they're more passive, and the big blind connects with this 4-3 quite well in terms of having gut shots and pairs. So I think using a medium-sized donk is actually fine to force him to call any 6x, 7x gut shot. I reg him the big blind, and if the unknown player has a king, we just get in money anyway. When the 4 pairs, we now don't beat any kings. So if he does have a weak draw or some kind of medium cards, we want to give him a chance to bluff the river. So I think now our hand has more value in allowing him to bluff. It's also perfectly possible he has some kind of hand that had a 4 in it, so we'll just call. And the 8 of hearts brings a flush, but there is still some misdraws, hands like 6-5, 7-6. We'll check and decide. We lose to some kings as well. We chop with king 5, king 6, king 7. I think it's fine to call given the price. Obviously not the dream run out. He does have... Wow, actually it is the dream run out. It was a very nasty setup on the flop, but fortunately for us the run out came very good and stopped us losing the full stack there. Definitely worth to take a note that he limps 3s on the button. This is not really standard at all. And also actually worth another note. Slow play value versus donk. We'll call R7 here with backdoor hearts. And not really looking to call a barrel there. The heart didn't come, didn't get any backdoor equity. I'm fine with just folding. We can continue with our 10s. I'd rather continue with a queen high draw than a naked 7. It still beats basically the same things. King 2's close to whether we can jam. We can use it as a bluff raise combo. There's a reg. And we get quite a tricky flop. Check calling doesn't feel great. Obviously we can bet small, we could check call, I don't mind just checking, betting small. There's still plenty of hands I'll just fold and it simplifies it a little bit for us. Ace queen versus king jack, ace queen holds, seems fine. We'll defend 8-4 suited. Okay, so we'll check full range on this board. There are some boards I will lead out versus regs, and they will be 7 high or less boards. And facing a big size here, often we'll see a jam on the turn. Even versus the draws, our hand isn't doing amazing, so I'm just going to fold with no additional equity. The reason being, I can't call any turn. That doesn't give us an 8 or 4. And he still has all the higher pockets, all the 9x in his range. And like I say, even versus a hand like Jack 10, Queen Jack, a flush draw, we don't have much more than 50%, so just fold in. Always got to remember that the buttons range is very strong. We could ship, but I have pocket pairs here, and sometimes hands like weak offsuit Broadway, so I will just include the best suited aces in min range still, but it's getting close to just jam off fold. We'll just check back 8-2. and call here. Not worried about an ace. For our draws out there, it's an option to bet small and it's an option to check. I'm just going to check. Not super worried about king highs. I don't think he has an ace. It could definitely be some kind of bet check bet bluff. We have a flush blocker, I will call. Obviously we lose sometimes, but more than fine to call that. Just go for the bet check bet bluff. We can take a note of it. He also bluffed with kind of showdown value too with that queen there. Like he's specifically trying to fold pairs. We're just going to jam our a6. Sometimes there'll still be a trap, but an unknown player could also just have some random hand he wants to see the flop with, so he does have the trap, fair enough. But at this stack depth, completely fine. Sometimes you will run into a trap, just got to accept that. Ace jack, we can ISO jam or we can use a larger non-all-in sizing. I'm going to go for the larger non-all-in sizing, 5.5, could also use 4.5. We'll just jam pocket threes. Ace 8 suited, completely fine. And we take that one down, which is great. That'll be the last spin for the video. Coaching is available through Team OP with me if that's something that's interested anybody that's watched the video. Any stakes from the micros up to the $50, and what we cover in a session can be completely up to you. We can go through a spin, or then if there's something specifically you want to look at, that's also something we can cover. If you want to see any more content created by me, or you have any questions, just feel free to write anything down in the comments and I will reply. And good luck at the tables for anyone playing.